Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 58 of the All in Football Fantasy Premier League Show podcast. I'm your host, the self-proclaimed FPL guru, Alex Rex. And joining me today is Barry Stokes and a very special guest, not called Gary Cocker. It's Kully Matharu. Kully, thank you for joining us. How are you today?
Well, I may just sit in my back garden right now. The golf course right behind me.
If you did live at Goals, then yes, it would be your backyard. Barry, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Good stuff. So today we're going to cover a bit of international break stuff, bit of a fallout from all of that, and then really get stuck into game week 29 and look a little bit further forward. After Scott McTominay decided to score 2 goals for Scotland to beat Spain, England delivered 2 good wins. I won't get your opinion on it, Cully. We are going to win the Euros, though, aren't we? Just tell me yes.
Nailed on.
And Baz, how do you feel about Southgate? Very briefly, still a fraud?
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. We won't linger on that too much. Let's look at game week 29, and then we will look for. I think we do a whole other podcast on that, and then let's look at the fixtures moving forward. So, since the last time we spoke, we have had an announcement of double game week 34, which has pretty much laid out the rest of the season for us in terms of fixtures. We pretty much know now. We're 90% of where everything's going to end up lying. We'd have assumed that the Brighton-Newcastle game would have been announced for game week 31 by now if it was going to be announced. So it looks like it's going to fall into game week 36 because game week 35 is a midweek anyway. So literally it's the only game week it can fall into because also Brighton have to play another. They've got 3 fixtures outstanding. So this is pretty much it, lads. The double game week fixtures we'll touch on in a bit for game week 29 anyway. But Brighton, Chelsea, City and United blanking in 32. Remember that. In game week 34, Brighton, Fulham, Liverpool, Man City, Man United and West Ham will all double. And in game week 36, Brighton and Newcastle will double, almost certainly. And in game week 37, Brighton, Chelsea, Man City and Man United, all the teams that blanked in game week 32 will double in game week 37. So now you can get a really good look at how you're going to use your chips for the rest of the season because there's going to be a variety of chip usages so far and variety of chips that are available left to use quite clearly. And I have run, we could spend ages on this as well. I have run some bench boost 34s versus bench boost 29s after injuries and stuff. 29 just is quite clearly, in my opinion, the best double game week to bench boost still. And then it's a debate whether you want to use your free hit in 32 or potentially 34, 36 and 37. What I would say is that Brighton double in 34, 36 and 37. And the teams, and also Man City and Man United double in 34 and 37 as well. All 3 of those teams are 3 of the 4 teams at blank in 32. It's much easier to navigate the rest of the season if you've got your free hit left, and only your free hit left, maybe your bench boost, to free hit in 32. Just makes it much easier to navigate. Whereas the people who have wild cards left, well, it's a lot more interesting for you because you could wildcard in 33 to bench boost in 34. That actually is very viable, considering the fixtures that are left and dead end your team into game week 32. That's more than viable. Or you could wildcard at a different time. But lots of things to cover off. Baz, any reflections on the double game weeks and their announcements? Anything that's made you reconsider options? Your chip usage left? What have you got left? Bench boost and free hit as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Anything made you change from 29 and 32?
No. Quite boring as that.
No, but I think it's just if those are the chips you got left, it seems like a pretty straightforward strategy. Cully, what have you got left chip wise?
Free hit and bench boost. So
yeah,
a bit worried with what you just said because I've just free hit about 2 hours ago. So
have you?
But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I'm interested. We've got Barry's free hit team for this week.
Doing nothing like that.
To compare to yours. I'm looking forward to that. Oh, that's a great little extra twist that I didn't think was going. So when are you thinking of bench boosting then? Are you looking for 34 or 37?
Yeah,
what are you thinking?
Probably 34. I'm going to buy that Ben Crellin's advice, if I'm honest. He said the opposite of you. He said probably it's going to be a free hit 29 and then 34 onwards bench boost. But you know what I did earlier on the season with the wild cards out of anger? I think I did it again with this one. So with the free hit out of anger. So
after your top game week that you had last week, but we didn't. We said we wouldn't mention that one. Cool. But what I will say is that as usual, it's always team dependent, and we do need to look and wait for the press conferences, because there are a few really key things that are going to make a difference to if people are going to bench boost this week. Because, for example, a lot of people are carrying like Sven Botman, for an example, as part of their bench boost. They're looking at other players like Rashford, Haaland. These guys are really important. Some people have got Saliba. Then obviously there's the injury to Matty Cash. There's a lot of things coming out which you could end up. I mean, Danny Ward's been dropped. There's a lot of things happened which make it. If you might only be able to field 11 players.
Yeah.
So then, if that's the case, I'm not going to take a -12 or 16. So I'll end up probably bench boosting in 34. But by the sounds of it, I've not got Haaland anyway. Rashford's fit. Botman's probably going to be fit. Yeah, because apparently it was either ill or he had a dodgy curry. Or was that Havertz who had a dodgy curry? I can't remember.
Havertz was ill, wasn't he?
Havertz was poorly as well. So, but yes. So anyway, that's it. Any reflection on the international break, Cully? Before we move on. I mean, I took the mick a little bit earlier, but any reflection from your side?
I was surprised. To be fair, the early result was good. I watched about 60 minutes of it. I got home for 30 minutes and beyond. So we scored our 2 goals by then.
Yes.
But yeah, it was decent for England. I didn't like the squad he picked initially, but it turned out okay, if I'm honest. And I liked that he finally gave some minutes to Madison and Tony in the second game. But yeah, so he's doing a bit better, but I still don't think he's the right man for us.
He's a fraud.
He's a fraud. Baz, your reflection on Wales? I've got to give you a bit of a chance to talk about Wales.
Since we're talking about England, I'll touch upon that.
Okay.
Once they're 2-0 up, they're boring to watch. It just goes too defensive. It's just allowing pressure onto him, and that's why I just think he's not the right man, as Cully's mentioned, for that. Because you've got all these attacking players, and you've got Maguire at back who's vulnerable to a mistake, and it's just boring when they're winning. Instead of like going for the juggler and killing them like 4 or 5-0, that Italy's team were there for taking. They made it look hard. I looked at the squad and I thought, who's these players? who's this centre forward who plays in bloody Argentina? I'm like, surely they've got better players than that.
They could have killed them off first half. They could have been 4 or 5-0 up from what I heard and what I saw in the highlights.
So that's my take on that. I'll move on from that. Wales just obviously looked really good defensively. Kept Croatia at bay. Made it 1-0. Then we got obviously a last-minute equaliser. So yes, I was very happy with that. And then the Latvia game, it just kind of dragged out a bit, to be honest. Moore scored a good header, and we just see it out. Latvia just didn't look like scoring. And I think if it was another team, we probably would have drawn that game. But obviously, 4 points from them first 2 fixtures. I'd have took 3, as Robert Page said as well. But got a nice little bonus point from the Croatia game. So yeah, I'm very happy with that.
Just disappointing. What I think for the England game was that Maguire's just got mistakes in him. I really don't want him to be bad. I really don't. But it's just that mistake, and then we just defended it terribly. Actually, I think we were managing the game really well until that mistake, and we were 2-0 up. We were just going to see it out, and that's absolutely fine. And then Maguire did that, and Shaw was a moron. So then we go down, but still, Italy never really looked like scoring because, yeah, like you said, the Italy team were there for the taking. So I do think they almost took the sending off, though, for Southgate to change his tactics, because he just, for some reason, just doesn't change his tactics in a game still. Anyway, we'll go in, because that's what cost us the Euros final. He just didn't change things when he needed to. Teams that double in game weeks 29 and 34. So these are teams that, especially if you don't have a wild card left, are probably the main teams you would look to invest in the next couple of game weeks, and especially this week. So we have to start from the top. And I know they've got a lot of airtime, but they have got 4 double game weeks left for the rest of this season. And they are Brighton. Now, I think Estupinian scored a penalty in his international break, which is quite funny. but everyone's been watching him if he was going to come back. Sanchez didn't look good in the FA Cup game, and now Steele seems to have got the place and position. What are we thinking at the back for Brighton? Are we thinking who are you investing in? If you are going to invest in any of them, Steele, Estupinian? Are you going to avoid Brighton's defence? What are your thoughts, Baz?
I'm avoiding Brighton's defence, to be honest. It's one of them. It's like looking at the fixtures going forward, Tottenham and Chelsea, then a blank. No, not defensively on that front. If I had to probably pick one, I probably would pick Steele because of obviously I've got Kepa, so and I'll be bench boosting in 29. So, and with them two fixtures, they're okay. So it's one of them. But no, I think if I'm lumping on Brighton, it'd be further down the line, like 33 onwards, would be on the Brighton defensive front. Midfield, yeah, we know who we're going to pick from midfield, and I think Ferguson's up with a shout again after his little cameo against Grimsby and scoring for Ireland as well. So, yeah,
a lot of people will be deciding this week between going for like Steele or Estupinian. I think that's going to be a key question for people, and there aren't that many defenders that excite me for this double game week. To be honest, I feel like if you go with someone like that, let's see. I think Estupinian's one of those players that kind of does. Whereas you look at goalkeepers, I think Emi Martinez is more than a good enough shout as a goalkeeper. Even Neto's got a really good double game week. Fulham at home and Brighton at home. A lot of people have got Raya anyway as well. Kepa, obviously, classic. Everson's dirt cheap. Not that I'd invest in Leicester defence at any point anyway as well. De Gea, really well set up for the rest of the season. He's got some really good fixtures, 30-31. There's loads of keepers.
Fabianski's a good shout as well.
He's
for
injured
West
though.
Ham.
Areola's the back.
It's 75% chance of playing, and they're probably going to play him if he's fit. Yeah, he's undroppable. Even
it would have been
a
West Ham keeper. That one of the West Ham keepers in my draft. So,
have you got Areola in it at the moment?
Yeah, I've got it just because I thought Fabianski would be injured still. But if he's 75% possible, I probably might change that for money. So
that's one to watch out with the press conferences. If you go on Premier Fantasy Tools and check the press conferences after about 5 o'clock tomorrow, there'll be an article up there that says what the managers have said about it, or you can check potentially on Twitter with Ben Dinnery. He's the best guy to follow for these things. They're the best people to check up. But even I was just going to say as well, Keylor Navas is again another option you could have. There's so many goalkeeping options, but not really that many defensive options. So I think one of the questions we had was sort of Steele versus Estupinian. I think it's Estupinian over Steele because I think there's other alternatives for Steele, whereas I don't really see that many other alternatives for Estupinian who are in double game weeks. What do you think, Cully?
Well, it's the attacking returns you get for Estupinian as well, potentially, that you could get. That was my dilemma, if I'm honest, when I did the draft. I had Steele and Areola, but I changed it back to Pope and Areola and then put Estupinian in. But I'll probably change it about 12 more times if I actually do my full team.
Yeah.
So I can't put in that. I've gone for Estupinian and then March and Matoma at the minute. I've not gone Ferguson for. I think he's still rotating him. I know he's done really well, but I think he's still rotating him at the minute.
Yeah, I agree. I think Ferguson's a no-go, but we do like him, and I think that's the problem. He's like a no-go in your fantasy team, but yeah, he does look like a good player. And McAllister seems to still be playing in that 10 role. So I think if I could go for it, I still think it's. We'll look at the returns from the last double game week. They all had very similar returns. Solly March probably should have had more because he was unlucky to get that goal taken away from him. If we have a look on Fantasy Football Hub's points prediction in terms of the double game week, McAllister's predicted 10.5, March has predicted 10.4, and Materna's predicted 10. You know, like even all of the statistics, the engines, everything that you put out there, I think it's just down to dumb luck. You pick two of them pretty much every time, but whichever two perform, you just you're unlucky if you've got the one that doesn't. So I wouldn't spend too long about it. If I had to nail my colours to the mast, Matoma's more fun to watch, and I really like McAllister, so I'd probably go McAllister and Matoma. But I've got March and Matoma, and I'm not unhappy about it. They have, like I said, they have got the most fixtures left. You mentioned that, Baz, now about investing in them further down the line. I absolutely don't think that's the wrong move. If you, for example, have a wild card left, then I wouldn't be investing in Brighton into this double game week. I'd be looking at a few more of the differential options that are in that game week that look really quite nice. And then I'd be looking to wildcard 3 Brighton players in probably game week 33, because then their fixtures the rest of the season are Forest away, double game week, both at home. Everton at home, double game week, Villa away. Just, if you're not tripled up on Brighton from game weeks 33 to 38, when they're such good value, it's just very, very obvious and very easy, isn't it? But yeah, I take that point, Baz. Kully, Can we talk about Liverpool for a sec?
Not really.
Are they worth investing in? And what's going to happen with Liverpool for the rest of the season? Third in the form table. They've only conceded 1 goal in their last 5 games.
I'm shocked to see that for a start. That 1 goal was our last game against Bournemouth that we didn't look like scoring whatsoever. I wouldn't invest just yet in the next 3 games because we've got City, Chelsea, and Arsenal, I believe. So I don't think the defence is an option for you. If you're going to probably invest, Salah's, I don't think it's worth it for 12.5 or whatever he is. Núñez is never really playing more than 60 minutes at the minute. Diaz has just come back. Maybe if he starts the City game, he could be an option for you. Jota as well, but I don't think there's many assets that I would pick at the minute from us because we just look out of sorts. If it was straight after the United game and you asked me, I would have said, oh yeah, bang them all in because we're going to go flying for the rest of the season. But no, not for me. Next 3 games, we'll be lucky to get 4 or 5 points. If I'm honest, I don't think we will. I think we'll probably get 3 at the max.
Who's your front 3?
I don't think he'll start Diaz on Saturday because he's just come back. I think he's just started full training this week. I think he might. Núñez is back fit. I know that. Salah is obviously a nailed on starter. So Salah, Núñez, and I think he might go. I think he might go Firmino just to try and keep the ball on Saturday.
Interesting that, because I was thinking Jota, but yeah, I see why you say that because they've got 2 really tough games.
Yeah, I said this last year as well. He went Jota as well, and he scored Jota, so he could go Jota if I'm honest. But I think we need to try and keep the ball a bit better on Saturday, and we'll get moments in the game because City will attack us, and obviously we'll get counter attack. I still don't think we'll win or even get a draw if I'm honest, but I think that's what he'll go. He'll go for me now.
If you were going to invest in defence, would you look at Verge or would you look at Trent or Robbo?
But Verge is 6.5 and Robbo's 7, Trent's 7.5, something like that, isn't it?
7.3 for Trent, 6.8 for Robbo, 6.5 for Verge. Virgil's got the same amount of points this season as Trent, and both have got 5 points more than Robbo.
Thing is, Verge has got the Pascal strike syndrome this year, and he can't head the ball straight. So literally, he should have scored about 5 against Nottingham
He
Forest.
should as well. Oh, he should as well.
Against Bournemouth, he should have scored 3.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. He's probably cost us 6 points by his not scoring his head is where he should do, if I'm honest. So I won't go him. I'll probably go Robbo out of the 3 of them because he's probably playing the best all season, and he's cheaper than Trent, who's not playing well, if I'm honest. So probably Robbo.
You've got none. You've got like you just said, the next 3 games, Man City and Chelsea away in a double game week, which is horrendous, and then Arsenal at home. But then you quite comfortably have the best run in. Leeds, Forest, West Ham, double game week, both at home against Tottenham and Fulham. Brentford at home, Leicester, Villa and Southampton is an unbelievable run of fixtures. So I think the note from that is I wouldn't touch Liverpool right now, but they are absolutely a team I'll be watching really closely because I'll be wanting to invest in them probably towards the end of the season as they push for top 4. 31. If I'm free hitting if I don't invest in 31, I'm free hitting in 32 anyway. Forest at home, I'm going to have 3 of them, and I want to know which ones I want. Baz, any advance on our local Liverpool expert?
Exactly the same.
Great. Man United. We have a double game week this week. That other graphic's great, but it just blags my head a little bit in terms of the colour. So I'm going to go back here. Newcastle away and Brentford at home. Not the easiest fixtures in the world. We don't have Casemiro again because he just decides to get himself sent off like a muppet. Bruno's played all the minutes for Portugal. He never gets a rest. Does he need a rest? I don't know. He never gets a rest, does he, Bruno? But one of the main questions with United are: is Rashford going to be fit? Probably. Bruno, is he a really important player? Is he almost essential to get in for this game, double game week, and also for our run for the rest of the season with us? If you're free hitting in game week 32, and then also, do you invest in the defense? Now, I'll come to you guys on Bruno in a second, but let me just tell you about our defense when Casemiro doesn't play, because it isn't fun. So, yes, he's played in 37 games this season, and we've only got a small sample size of 7 without him. But our win percentage is 42.9 compared to 75.7 with him. We've lost 3 out of the 7 games. Goals for, pretty similar, 1.7 to 1.9, but our goals against is basically double, 1.7 to 0.95. I get why people will be looking to invest in Shaw and De Gea this week. I get it, because also our fixture run after Newcastle Brentford, we've got Everton and Forest. Then people will potentially be free hitting in 32. Then we've got Spurs, Villa, Brighton, win a double game week. West Ham, Wolves, double game week, with Chelsea and Fulham last game. So we've got a really good fixture run as well. But big warning on investing in United defence without Casemiro in the team. -4 would be this week for Shaw and for Zinchenko. And with Leeds at home versus those 2 games, I just don't know if I'm going to do it or not. And I'm probably not, even though he's probably the right player to have moving forward when Casemiro's back. Any take on that, lads? And then over to you on Bruno.
It's a quick one on Casemiro.
Yeah.
I think those stats are a bit skewed because obviously the first 2 games of the season you didn't buy him yet, and you've lost the first 2. Wasn't it Brighton and Brentford you lost to?
I don't think that game includes the Brighton game because you haven't bought him yet. But I think it includes the Brentford game. But
Did
anyway,
you buy him by Brentford because he wasn't in the squad? I don't think, was he?
No, but we he got shown on the pitch, didn't he, against Brighton? So maybe we had bought him by Brighton. Was it Brighton?
Yeah.
It was a home game. He got displayed on.
So I think
anyway. But yeah.
I think those skewed stats slightly skewed anyway. I think it was just the Arsenal game. He lost 3-2 without him, didn't he? He got a yellow card in Palace last minute or something. With the United defence, I think you've got. If I'm honest, I know you've looked decently impressive, like defensively and especially offensively all season. But I think you've got away with it slightly defensively. I think a lot of teams have had a lot of chances against you and missed them. I remember quite a few games that you've done what we've probably done the last couple of years and got away with the big chances against teams. De Gea's been in brilliant form, I think, all season, barring the odd, mess up like he's prone to. But I think you kind of got away with it. So maybe I've put Shaw in my draft side, but from what you're saying, if those stats are correct, I'll probably take him out if I'm honest. So
yeah, I don't know if it includes the Brighton game. I think it includes the Brentford game, but still, yeah. And like you say, expected goals conceded. Don't get me wrong. Since the World Cup, we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're 7th for expected goals conceded, and we're 3rd in the league. So yeah, we have been probably a little bit more fortunate. But we have conceded 15 goals, but I'm pretty sure 7 of those were in a game that I've blanked from my memory. So we've 8 goals conceded in the other 12. So we have looked relatively solid defensively, yeah. But without Casemiro, it's a bit of a worry. Baz, anything on that? Or and then over to you on Bruno Fernandes. Do we need him? Is he a must?
I think Kully said exactly what I was going to say, to be honest. You've got obviously McTominay coming in. Is he going to play up front? That's what everyone's thinking with all the footage that used to be a centre forward.
He did. He was a striker.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mate, sorry. Hold on. Ask Leeds fans. Loves it against Leeds.
So yeah, it's one of them. Bruno. No, I won't have him in my team. I think there's other midfielders that are potentially better to have, and actually less money. So for me, yeah, I won't have Bruno in my team.
Cully, Bruno Fernandes, someone in your draft?
Yeah, instead I've in my draft. Yeah, got him instead of Rashford at the minute because I didn't know his fitness. But obviously the plan was to bring Rashford back in for the free hit side as long as I knew he was fit. So I'd probably play both of them. At the minute, I've got Bowen instead of Rashford, so probably Bruno and Rashford.
Yeah. I think if you've got Bruno Fernandes, amazing. I think if you can get him without taking a big hit, then great. It depends who you'd be taking a hit for putting him in. But I've seen so many people talk about Saka out for a -4 to get Bruno in. And I've seen this all over Twitter and on a couple of podcasts I've listened to, and I think it's absolutely nuts. And people have been like, oh, it's close. Should I do it? It's not close. Saka all day. So, and that's my, as a United fan, honest opinion. I think it's because he's an Arsenal player for some reason. People still have it in their minds. He's looked incredible. Even when he's not got returns, he still looked very, very good, Saka. And then he's got returns in his last. So for a -4, have a day off. Don't do it. It's a mistake. Anyone disagree with me? Don't think so.
The Arsenal one's annoying this week because obviously they've got Leeds at home. And I think they'll. Sorry, Leeds fans. I think they'll batter Leeds. If I'm honest, I think it'll be 4 or 5. And it's just so annoying because you want double game week players, but you just think that's such a good fixture that they could all bag, if I'm honest, Martinelli, Odegaard, and especially Saka after what he did last game week. So it's just such an annoying one that I want to put him in, but I'm just like, do I favour double game week players over him?
I think if I was going to do a draft for a free hit, I probably would only have Saka of single game week players. I think.
That's the option.
I think everything else would be doubles. Let's Man United's fixture, and obviously I've touched on that, by the way, for the rest of the season. If you did want to go for Shaw this week or De Gea, then I don't think it's a massive mistake. I just think it's a warning. Don't expect massive returns. I think if I do take the -4, go Shaw and for Zinchenko, it's more set me up for the rest of the season as well as try and gamble on the odds of the double game week because Arsenal's fixtures. We'll just quickly do that while we're talking about it. Arsenal's fixtures, because after they play Leeds, they have Liverpool and then they have West Ham and Southampton, so they're okay. Then they have City, Chelsea, Newcastle, and Brighton for the first 4 game weeks, which is, that's the crunch time in the season, isn't it? Before they finish off the season with Forest and Wolves. So having 3 Arsenal's not massively essential in that period of time, but yeah, would be because they're so leaky, Arsenal, as well. They seem to just concede that odd goal. I don't think they can set 3 clean sheets in the last 8 or something. So anyway, there you go. West Ham, that's what we were doing. Wanted to just touch on West Ham because arguably, I'm flicking about here, sorry. Southampton at home and Newcastle at home, arguably is one of the best double game weeks this week. So I know you've got Bowen, Cully.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody and Areola? So you've gone double West Ham?
Yeah, potentially. Bowen's one of them was obviously, like I said, it was a stopgap for seeing if Rashford was fit or not. And you're saying he is fit, so I'm going by your word, really, Al. If he doesn't play, it's your fault. But yeah, so it was really just Areola, and Bowen was a stopgap, like I said. I don't think anybody else is really like a goal scorer for them that you can rely upon, or defenders. I don't think I rate any of them. Is Cresswell fit? But is Cresswell doing anything this season? So maybe
No, not really. He's Baz. I know you've got a West Ham player in your draft.
Yeah, and he's my differential as well this week.
Here he is. Love it. Really like that.
Takes penalties, so you know he's gonna take them if they get one. And he looks quite cool. He as Scott loves to say, he passes the eye test. He
looks cool. He looks cool. Differential.
Yeah, he's one of them. I think he's hopefully he could turn the fortunes around for West Ham. He's got Ings to obviously supply when fit. It was either Ings or Benrahma, and I've gone for Benrahma. But Bowen, Benrahma, or Ings for me for West Ham. Defensively, I'm still not convinced.
No, and I can understand fully why. Yeah, I think kind of really covers off West Ham. I'd say their expected stats defensively are pretty decent. So, if you did want to invest in a defender against those two teams, fine. But I don't think longer term it really makes much sense. We're just a weird team, West Ham. They've got good fixtures for the rest of the season overall as well. They're just an odd team. So but I'd be staying away from them. Those are the teams covered off anyway that have a double then another double. Let's talk about the other teams that have double game weeks this week. And we'll start off with the ones that have a future double game week in 37, Chelsea. So they play Villa at home and Liverpool at home. Two decent enough fixtures. Then they have a really good fixture run as well. Wolves, Brighton at home, blank, again, free hitters 32. Brentford at home. The only game that Arsenal away in 34 is tough. Bournemouth, Forest. A really hard double game week away at City and away at United and Newcastle at home. But their fixture run from now until 36, if you're free hitting in 32, is pretty good. Happy with Havertz, Baz? Are you looking at any midfielders potentially as well to go with him? And have you got Chilwell as well?
Yeah. Got triple Chelsea.
Have you got Kepa?
Got Kepa as well, yeah. Got Kepa, Chilwell and Havertz, and I think they're the only three that I would obviously look at. Potentially Felix as well, but that's it really from Chelsea. James is obviously sick note. Turned into Darren Anderton.
What a shout!
So yeah, it's one of them where I think they're the only three that are consistent really.
Cully, your take on Chelsea?
I've gone for Chillers and for Havertz, but you're worrying me with this sickness bug thing about Havertz. So
it'll be fine. It's one of them, innit? Usually, I mean, I think he played the game that was important and then skipped the match that wasn't that important. I think that's how it all went down.
I was tempted by James, but like Baz says, you can't rely on him. He's a bit of a sick note, isn't he? So
yeah, absolutely. Well, since the World Cup, Kepa and Havertz have both featured in 13 games. Havertz was one as a substitute. So, this seems relatively nailed under Potter. So, yeah, done well in terms of numbers. And they've been the top point scorers as well. Obviously, Thiago Silva's injured now. And then we're back with Chilwell, who's only played 7 games, 2 as a sub. He's only got 456 minutes, but he has got 24 points in that period of time. So, yeah, I think you've got the right 3 players there, Baz. Just not waste too much time on that one and move on. I think they're all great options and all look good moving forward as well. Let's talk about Newcastle, because it looks like we've got any Newcastle players in your draft, Cully. Actually, I'll start with that. Any Newcastle players?
I think Pope is the backup keeper, and Trippier on my bench. I've not put him in my first 11 at the minute. So yeah, I was considering Isaac, if I'm honest, because I think, as much as I'm saying Areola, maybe as a West Ham keeper, I think Isaac will do pretty well over the 2 game weeks. I think United without Casemiro, like you're saying, and West Ham aren't great defensively, as we've all said. Might have a decent game week, couple game weeks, and I think it'll keep him in the side after a good run.
I couldn't agree more. I think Isak is probably the main option for them, and the midfielders. Actually, in terms of form, it's Joe Willock's next in terms of form recently, and he you know what he's like. He had that run at the end. Was it last season? The season before? I can't remember. He had that run. Must have been probably last season, where he just scored loads of in loads of games in a row. Anything more from you on those Baz midfielders potentially? Anyone that you think of?
I was going to mention Joe Willock. He's got 6 and a 7 in his last 2. Also, if you wanted a cheap player, Murphy is probably going to start more than what St. Maximin is, because St. Maximin is similar to James. Keeps getting injured. So I think Murphy will probably start, and I think he's only like 4.1 or something like that.
4.1, yeah.
So, yeah, I think he might be a good shout just to pick up a cheap midfielder.
Do you think they'll play 2 up top now? Almiron's injured.
No, I still think they'll play width.
Do you reckon, we'll say Maximan, Isaac, and who's going to be the right winger? Murphy, the right winger. I reckon they'll go 2. I think they'll go Wilson and Isaac, personally, and then St. Maximan as well.
Who's even fit for them? That's the thing, isn't it? I mean, because they're going to play Willock, Bruno, and Joe Linton, aren't they, in the midfield? Is Joe Linton fit still? He's Fernie.
Well, you say
he is.
that Longstaff.
Oh, Longstaff, of course. Jolinton's not played much, has he?
He gets quite a few games from us. And that, what is it, Anderson or Anderton? Like, came on last game against Forest
Yeah.
and got that
That's true.
offside goal. That shouldn't have been offside.
Yeah.
He might be an option as well.
Gordon's still injured, isn't he? As well. Like it's a bit of a weird time for them, isn't it? With who's going to play. But yeah, again, that's why personally. And so the other question that we had in was: is double up at the back still viable for this double game week? So the answer is you can have, if you've got two at the back, it's fine, and that's no problem at all with those two fixtures. But I think they're probably going to keep one clean sheet. But if I was doing a free hit team, no.
Yeah, just have trips. Just easy as that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have any other defenders at that point. But yeah, they're an interesting side, Newcastle. It's going to be an interesting one how they end up lining up and then going towards the end of the season, because their running is, they've got a clean run, obviously, at the Premier League, one of those teams that does. 2 double game weeks left, going for the top 4. It's going to be interesting to see how they get on, really, especially against Spurs. Now they've got the assistant manager taken over, and Liverpool, who are getting players back now, and they're going to be moving in the right direction. Other teams are double. Villa. So is Cash injured, Baz?
Yeah.
How long is he out for? We've not seen anything yet.
3 to 4 weeks, apparently.
Crap. Worth moving sideways for any defenders? Any other defenders? Moreno, Digne, Mings, any of those?
If anything, I'd go for Moreno if I was going for a straight Villa defender. From Cash to Moreno.
I don't think they've got the fixtures for the defenders, surely.
They've got Chelsea away and Leicester away, so no.
Yeah,
exactly.
Really.
That's why I won't fuss about it. If anything, I'd probably go for a Leicester defender.
Sure.
We'll get to that in a minute, Baz. Oh, it makes me feel uncomfortable. Yes. I like the Emi Martinez fixtures for the way that they rotate with Raya for the rest of the season. It's the only thing that's maybe tempting me to go Ward to Martinez, because again, it's for this double game week, but it's also for the rest of the season. That's a temptation for me, but yeah, that's the only thing I do. I wouldn't move sideways. I think well done to the Tyrone Mings club last week. You got some points. Watkins still doing well. Any other midfielders? Did you mention Bailey, Baz?
Yeah, he's going to be someone I'm bringing in for Almiron, because Almiron's injured.
Have you thought about Buendia someone as well? So he's got to be considered. I'd have thought.
I need the extra cash because I need to get Holland back. That's my only issue. That's why I'm going for the Bailey route, or it would be a Ramsey or a Buendia.
Fine. That makes sense. I think if I had a choice of Villa midfielders, I'd be going for Buendia, I think, at this very moment in time. But yeah, I get the Ramsey shout as well.
What's Buendia starting stats like? Did he start every single game? Don't he rotate with Coutinho a lot?
Let me tell you, he's played 12 out of the 12 game weeks since the World Cup. So
yeah.
I think he's had I think he's missed like 1 week. I think they've had like maybe 13 fixtures. Let's have a look. They're 13 fixtures. No, they've had 12 fixtures. Martinez has played 10. That's what you need to do. You need to always have a look at the goalkeepers. Let me just have a look and see if I think they've had 12 goalkeepers. Yeah, he's played every game.
So it's worth it, yeah.
He's played every game. So's Conser, Douglas Luiz, Ollie Watkins, and Bailey. He started 10 of the 12, and then he's gone to the other 2. But yeah, I like it. If we have a look at their statistics in terms of expected goals, Bailey is exactly the same as Buendia. Watkins is just miles ahead of anybody else. But Buendia's got 4 goals with the same expected goals as Bailey's, who's only got 1. But Bailey got 2 assists compared to Buendia's 1. So yeah, it's Buendia, but again, Bailey's an okay option. It's 4.4,
4.4, yeah.
4.4. Bournemouth, anyone? Bournemouth, anyone? Bournemouth? No? Yes, maybe no. They've got an amazing double game week, guys.
Yeah, I like a few of them, but if I was free hitting, I probably wouldn't bring any.
Isn't that an amazing double game week?
Both at home.
Brighton.
They're both at home, aren't they?
Yeah, Mitrovic is banned, isn't he? So don't think Fulham's going to score with
So it's
Willie.
Right,
Yeah.
Q3-0 Fulham now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, Neto, Billing, Dando, Otaro, Smith.
Yeah, so no, really, is it?
Yeah, exactly. You're clutching at straws if you wanted to go for one of them.
Brentford, tough double. They've got Brighton away and Man United away. They're just an absolute go nowhere near, aren't they, on a free hit? But obviously, if you've got Tony, you keep him. Any advance on Brentford there again?
Just Tony.
Yeah, just Tony.
I don't think they'll keep clean sheets in either of those games. I think Tony's just the option, isn't he? So
it's one of those things that, again, like if the news comes in that a few of my outfield players again aren't playing, and then it might put me off a bench boost because my bench boost keeper would be Raya. So again, like, am I going to get 4 points from him? And that's about it. So yeah, you've got to stay open minded. Any news on Tony? Anyone know anything about him? I've not heard anything in terms of news.
Do we say this every single week? I don't think he's banned.
Yeah.
I don't think he's not to the end of the season anyway. Probably. It'll cause an absolute outcry if he gets banned now, and then every other team's going to like, why has he not got banned in the season? They've probably scored against. He's probably scored against them. So
yeah. I do know what you mean. They'll be wanting to get him banned as soon as possible, I think, because he's obviously going to happen. So, Leeds players, anybody? Double game week. Arsenal away, Forest at home. I wouldn't touch any of them. But anybody catch your eyes from Leeds?
Harrison,
Kully?
No.
Cool. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
You'll only be doing it for the second game, wouldn't you? Like, they're not going to do anything in the first game.
Massive game, that second game, innit?
You can clip that up, by the way, for if they win 1-0 or whatever now. But
I will. But Forest at home is such a big game for Leeds. It's just, I mean, I think it's Tyler Adams is out, isn't he? Hamstring, and he's a massive player for them. I think they beat Wolves without him though, but still, he's a big player for them.
Nonto's injured as well, I think.
No, he played didn't he play the international break?
He's got a flag on him.
He played against us in England, that is.
Yeah, you're right. He got injured second game about 50 minutes in because some of my Leeds mates were moaning. So yeah.
I think Somerville might be a cheap option shout though.
You don't do yourself any favours, Gully, do you? Some of my Leeds mates were moaning. So Baz, over to you about Leicester. Now they do have Palace away and Villa at home. They probably have the best double game week this week, right? Probably. Obviously, Maddison's worth it. I think he'd be great to have in the team. I'd like to have him. Defense, convince me. over to you, because I think you should stay so clear. Go on.
Just for the attacking options, I think Ricardo Pereira looks really. It looks like he's coming back to when he first came to Leicester, and he looked really good going forward, and everyone had him in the team, and I think that's the reason why. And especially with Castagna on the other side as well, I think they've got two good fullbacks, but the two centre halves is just the issue. That's the problem with Leicester. That's the only reason why I'd have them, because of the attacking potential and options from them.
Their expected goal involvement per 90 for their defenders. Since the World Cup, Castagna's expected goal involvement is 0.1 per 90. Pereira, who's obviously got a small sample size, is also 0.1. They've got the same goal threat as Daniel Amati. I've heard the talk about expected this and potentially expected that. I just can't see it at all. Cully, any thoughts on it?
Well, I'm glad you've gone with that start, because I was just laughing in the background. No chance am I going for any Leicester defenders. I don't care about their potential attacking returns. I don't think they've got an assist this season, either one of them, have they? They might have got one.
Castagna's got one since the World Cup.
Right, okay.
Pereira's got one as well.
Yes.
Sorry, mate. That's massive, that, isn't it?
Well, actually, we should be back. It's just, he's got one.
Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's only got 2 or 3, hasn't he?
I never said I wanted to put him in.
I know, but I'm just saying.
No, I'm going to go Madison. He's in my team. Madison's in my team. Don't worry.
Yeah. I think
it's Madison or Barnes in it. If everyone else,
Yeah.
I think the strikers are two rotational risks.
Mhm.
It's either Lacho or Daka in it. So
I think we definitely can't ignore Harvey Barnes here. He scored one more goal than Madison. He's got one more. He's got the same amount of assists as Madison. His expected goal involvement is 5.7 since the World Cup compared to Madison's 3.8. Now I know Madison's played less games, but 5.7 is very good. If we go per 90 minutes that they have played since, Madison is at 0.6 per 90 and Barnes is at 0.5. So Harvey Barnes at 6.7. If you can't afford a Madison and a free hit, maybe, or you want someone who's a bit of a differential, I think Harvey Barnes here at 6.7 is going to be an excellent shout for a differential. One of the questions I did have was Ward dropped, sideways move to Everson. No, for me. Hold, no. Sell for a hit, yes. Especially if you're going to bench boost. Obviously, if you're going to bench, if you're not going to bench boost, then don't sell him for a hit. But if you're going to bench boost, you break even if they just get appearance points from that sale. And also, it sets you up to have two goalkeepers that potentially can rotate for the rest of the season. I'll be selling him for a hit. I know, Baz, you mentioned you might not. Do you think you're going to gamble he stays after his performances for Wales? How do you feel about it all?
it's one of them. It's either I do a -4 or a -8, and it's like, who's the other keeper I'm going to go for that I need a potential cheap option so I can get Haaland? I probably would go Steele if I had to. It's either Steele or Everson. There was me only two that I'd swap.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's one of them. Do I bite the bullet and just keep Ward because he's obviously been dropped for a bit. He's done well at Wales, and obviously Rodgers might go right. Let's play him again. That's the only issue I've got and a dilemma. So I wanted some intel. So I might ask my Leicester fan, mate, see if he knows.
It's a really tricky one because then if he then plays and I've taken a -4 to get rid of him, I'm going to be so annoyed. It's going to really piss me off. Anyway, so Forest. I know Gibbs White was quite up there in terms of predicted points. They have got Leeds and Wolves. I think it's Leeds and Wolves, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Wolves at home and then Leeds away, arguably as good as Leicester's double game week. In terms of a player who you would maybe look to have in a free hit team, I would never suggest bringing him in for a long term, especially when the next fixtures are Villa away, Man United, Liverpool, and Brighton, and then Brentford away, and then they have Southampton, Chelsea, and Arsenal. So they don't buy Forest players. I think they're in trouble personally. But if you have a look at a free hit team, Gibbs White, consider him, lads.
It's either him or Brennan Johnson, isn't it?
Is Brennan fit, Baz? You love Brennan.
I believe he is.
Okay. Sorry, go on, Cully. Sorry, I cut you off then.
Yeah, well, it's either him or Brennan Johnson. I'd say probably with those fixtures, maybe a defender, but I'll be honest, I don't know any of the defenders.
They've got about 72, I think. So
yeah, they've got Bolly and Aurier and all that, maybe.
Aurier, if I had to pick one.
Yeah. Maybe them, but I mean, I wouldn't pick him anyway. But
what about Dennis?
Oh God, isn't he injured?
No, Chris Wood's out for the season, so he's going to start.
Dennis was flagged with a knock, but that probably means he's going to play, doesn't it? Now, why have I got Newcastle here? Why have I retyped that? Forest. Oh, it doesn't like me. Let's go with Nottingham. There we go. No, it doesn't like me. Okay, fair enough. This thing's decided to crash on me. Classic fantasy football hub.
Well, Forest is 1-1.
Well, what is Nottingham 1T?
No,
still didn't work. Let's go. There you go. Thanks, though. No, doesn't like me.
Just type in Forest with 1R, mate.
There we go. All right, hold on.
See if it works, and then you know if it's crashed or not.
There we go. Thanks, mate.
It's all right.
Honestly, I need to check my spelling on it. Pathetic, isn't it? Right. Yeah, Johnson 95. Gibbs White up there as well. Defenders, Aurier, Worrell. Neco's been playing, any still. Since the World Cup. In terms of defenders, this is absolutely fantastic for all podcast listeners, by the way. They'll be like, what's he doing? Clicking about here. Appearances, they've got Loddy with 12, Aurier, Worrell, and Williams. They're the only ones with double figures. And Williams, most of us come off the bench. Yeah, just don't touch any of them. Cool, we wasted some time there, didn't we, lads? Let's move on to single game week players. We have to talk about Arsenal in a little bit more depth because one of the main questions that we got in this week was which double game week fixtures are better than Arsenal's one single game week fixture. So, definitely not Villa's, potentially Bournemouth, definitely not Brentford's. Brighton's, yes, Brighton's are better. Leicester's are better, and Forest's are better. Maybe West Ham's, but the teams aren't really that much better. So probably in terms of players, Brighton. This is what I mean. We've all got the dilemma this week. I might sell one Arsenal player, but I'm certainly going to keep at least two of them because of the fixture. Thoughts, Baz, on your actual team rather than your draft? Are you going to be keeping two Arsenal or three Arsenal?
I'm keeping three Arsenal because I've got other fires to put out. Almiron's injured. Ward might potentially not start, and then Cash is out injured as well. So there's potentially three transfers that I need doing. So that's a -8 if I do them all. So, yeah.
Cully, I know you're free hitting, and you're probably thinking about Saka or no one. But if you weren't free hitting, what would your take be on Arsenal?
If I had the team I had with three Arsenal players, I'd probably bench two, maybe. I don't know, Al, if I'm honest. But listen, I'm free hitting, so my focus on that. So I'm probably going to go Saka in my free hit. I had Martinelli, Odegaard, and White before, so it's probably just going to be Saka by himself.
Fair, yeah. I think they've got one of the best fixtures. Yeah, Liverpool away in 30 is tough, but then they've got two really good fixtures: West Ham and Southampton.
Well, the answer, if I didn't free it, was I just don't know. Like, I don't know what I'd do. I'd just probably come to you for advice if I'm honest, and I'd slip a few places. So
I wouldn't be surprised, mate. But I'm definitely keeping at least two. I might even go with three of them. I'm happy with a bench boost of, everyone's so focused on making sure you bench boost to double game week players, which is it's not really a problem. Like if my bench boost this week turns out to be Zinchenko, Martinelli, and like Kane and De Gea, it's all right, isn't it? It's Leeds, and Everton. It's not a problem. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. And I think everyone who's mass selling Saka just don't do it. I think that's very much a Twitter thing, and everyone's sort of falling into that trap. Manchester City, if he is injured and he doesn't have a knock, then they've got Liverpool. They have got Southampton away, which is a very good fixture because Southampton are rubbish at home. Then they've got Leicester at home, and then a blank Arsenal. Can we go without him until game week 34?
potentially, yeah. If I'm honest, it would ruin a bit of my transfers that I had planned if he is out till that time now. But yeah, potentially. Or who would they bring in? Alvarez? Maybe he might be an option. I don't think KDB's that way. He keeps rotating, doesn't he? And they've got the Champions League coming up, so you never know with a Pep, do you? It's typical roulette time for him now.
It is. I definitely, it's a watch very, very, very closely. I mean, if he's on the bench, even for the Liverpool game, means he's probably going to come on at some point, and that means he's probably going to.
I think he just starts, so it doesn't.
Yeah,
at all.
I agree, Cully. Yeah, I think he starts or he doesn't play at all. Baz, take on Haaland. Do you think if he's not in the squad for game week 29 and we don't get any conclusive news for game week 30, we could go without him until game week 34?
I'm not risking it. I'm not risking it. I'll probably be bringing him in just for the fear factor that if he is fit and 30 and bags an hat-trick, yeah, that basically just put me back down to a couple of places where I've got to the nosebleed stage of third in the league, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do anything drastic. And I think by not having Haaland for 30 and 31, I think that's quite drastic.
Yeah. I think as well, funnily enough, I think one of the debates people have had is as well with captaincy. So who else could you captain in game week 30? Well, Rashford at home to Everton, for an example. Who could you captain in 31? Kane at home to Bournemouth, for an example. Who could you captain in game week 32? Anyone but Haaland, because he doesn't play. Game week 33, who could you captain? There's still some really good options for game week 33. Yeah, not really good. There were only good options for game week 33, weren't they? But anyway, yeah, wildcards will be 33 anyway to bring him back in. I think wildcarders have a big decision to make, whether they're going to hold off or not. But yeah, scary times, isn't it? I would say Mahrez seems quite exciting for game week 30 if Foden's had his appendix out, because he only likes to really play him in the Champions League as such, but he was on great form before, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And someone obviously like Grealish or whatever. I mean, I ran my team until the end of the season. I'd love to have another City player, and I think it would work out really well, because also we've got to remember that they do have double game week 34 and 37 that will crop up. But yeah, anything else on City before we move on? Because I just want to really cover Spurs briefly before we move on to making sure we've covered other questions and wrap up.
Defenders, you putting any defenders in, or they options for you going forward?
Oh, Diaz looks like he's got his place nailed back down, doesn't he? At the back, Edison's just a troll because he seems to keep conceding random goals. But other than that, no, probably not. I probably wouldn't touch any of the other players.
Not even Aki after he scored 2.
Yeah.
Bloody rotation, man. Rotation Aki. When it was a Kanji versus Aki, and now it's Diaz. That's just Pep all day long, isn't it? You just can't predict him.
Well, he might have played it as in terms of he's trying to get his players ready for the Champions League at this moment. So playing to their peak now for the Champions League. So get his best team out every week now. So when the Champions League's in their brutal stages and the real big rounds. So maybe he's on that.
Quickly from you, Kully, because we've had our say on this on the podcast a couple of times. So 2 questions, one to do with the title and then one to do with Conte as we move on to Spurs. Who's winning the league in your eyes and why?
Arsenal, too far ahead for me. I think they'll probably pull away before the run of 4 fixtures that they'll have, the City, Chelsea, Newcastle and Brighton games. They might have a wobble, but I think they'll get through it. And like Gary Neville says, they're not going to win their first title in 20 years or something like close to 20 years without it being stressful by the end. So I think it will go to the last game of the season or the last 2 games of the season. But I still think they're just too far ahead. And what was your second question about the Kane?
No, I wanted to just mention Conte, because obviously we had a nice chat about this last week, and we had a nice little debate about, did he actually say anything wrong? etc., and how it was all handled. Is it a Spurs problem? Is it a cultural thing?
What he actually said was not wrong. He was absolutely spot on about the club. But should you really be saying that in front of cameras in public eye as the manager of the football club? Probably not. But what he said was probably spot on around Spurs. They've got a losing mentality. They're a bit of a nothing club, aren't they? They've got the stadium, and that's pretty much the only thing about them that's big. Everyone around me said that, even at work and friends that say they're a big club. I don't think they're a big club. I think the stadium's big, but they're not really. They don't win anything. No one really cares about them. So I know I'm going in on Spurs here, but it was always going to happen though with Conte. It was always going to blow up. He's done it so many times at so many clubs. Every single club he's been at. So it was literally a ticking time bomb from the moment he started.
What it also reminded me of was Scott Parker situation at Bournemouth.
Yeah,
it was kind of similar to that, and obviously they couldn't really keep him after that.
But Parker called out the transfers at Bournemouth, and he said that they obviously they don't spend much. And he called out the owners on spending. Conte didn't really say that. He said about the culture of the club. And I'm sure
he said something about he didn't get enough money for his players or something as well.
Maybe, but he still spent quite a bit of money, didn't he?
Exactly, yeah. That's why I was quite confused.
Some of they won the transfer window, and they had a great transfer window. Yeah. They were going to do brilliantly, but obviously, you know what? They're not even in that bad a position. They're fourth.
Exactly. They're actually not in that bad of a position. Like Scott said last week, it was more about the way they went out of the Champions League and sort of dripped out of the cups to they lose to Who did the Grimsby? Who did they lose to?
Sheffield United.
Sheffield United. That's Southampton lost to Grimsby, didn't they?
I would say as a caveat, I know he does this at a lot of clubs, and he's got a track record of it. But obviously, he's had a bit of a turbulent season himself, hasn't he? With his two best mates passing away, and obviously his surgery on his gallbladder or
gallbladder, yeah.
Yeah. So he's had a bit of a turbulent season, but still, it was writing on the wall from minute one, really. So he's always going to be a manager that goes into a club for 2 years, tries to win there, and then he'll F your squad up, and then he'll leave. So it does the same thing every way he goes.
Yeah, it's that's what Mourinho does these days as well, probably. Have you heard our debate on Kane? Because I know you're one of those people that's not the biggest Kane fan.
It just does my head in. Listen, phenomenal footballer, I should say. You've got all the talent in the world. I think he was hoodwinked by when Spurs got to the Champions League final, and he thought, right, we can carry on here. We can progress under Pochettino. That's why he signed a 5-year deal. But in hindsight, I think he should have had a bit more foresight when he signed that. Said, I'll sign a 2-year contract or a 3-year contract, just see how we go, and then look back on it. But obviously, that's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Hindsight. But I think he should. I think I said to you, a couple of months ago, it's a shoe in for United to get him. I'm not too sure that is the case now because I know they're quoting about 100 million and they're trying to keep him. I don't think they'll lose him on free, but I still think he probably will go to United, especially if you get taken over by Qatar, whoever it is. I think you can buy anyone, so I think he possibly could go to United. I think he should as well. He needs a trophy in his career for me.
Yeah. New manager bounce, do you think? Everton, obviously it's not new manager, it's assistant manager, isn't it, really? But then they've got Everton. Keep Kane for the single game week this week?
Well, I'm free hitting, so no for me. But
Baz, what do you think?
I've got Kane, and like I mentioned, I've got too many fires to put out, so yeah, I'm keeping him. And
I think the question is, if you didn't have fires to put out, if you had 2 free transfers this week or a free transfer this week, would you take Kane out for Havertz or Watkins or Tony or Ferguson or Nunes, Isak?
It depends on how your team is. If like say, if you've got other people that you need to do, I wouldn't say he's a dead cert. He's coming out of my team because he's the only one that performs at Spurs. So that's why you'd keep him, especially against Everton as well. You think, oh yeah, Everton might win, but my only concern is I don't understand the temporary replacement of Stellini. He was the one that orchestrated the defeats, and against Sheffield United, he obviously benched Kane, and he still stands by that decision that he benched Kane against Sheffield United, and yeah, I just don't think they're going to get top 4 with him in charge.
I agree with you. I don't think they will get top 4 with him in charge. No. I keep Kane though. That's what I'm going to do. I think that's a bit of a no-brainer, really. He's 21 points behind Haaland this season. Everyone thinks Haaland's just some sort of world beater, which obviously, he's unbelievable. But he's scored 21 goals this season, Kane, already in the league. Yeah. Just unbelievable numbers.
Is it just me? Is it not something about him that annoys you lot? Like both of you? Is there not something about him that just like does your head in?
Okay.
Yeah.
It comes deep too.
Great for me.
It comes deep far too often, but that's because the ball doesn't get to him. Look at players he's playing with. Son's out of confidence.
I'm not on about him as a player. I think he's a great footballer, a brilliant footballer. I'm just thinking as a mentality-wise, and just little bits like how he did that, them backing into players, and and he's diving all the time. No one says, "Oh, like it's like he's an England golden boy." Does he not great on you? Surely it does a little bit.
It definitely annoys me that he missed the penalty against France. That second penalty against France.
Oh, I love that.
Well, I bet you did. It annoyed me that he missed that second penalty against France. And it just shows the mentality of a lot of people that he got basically nothing said about it moving forward. The 3 black lads missed penalties in the final and they got, racially abused to the point of whatever. and murals defaced and all this, that, and the other. And it does annoy me a little bit that I think he almost comes across to people a little bit untouchable in that sense. It does annoy me because actually he has technically delivered no trophies or anything like that. But when I watch the document, but that's not a him problem. That's other people problem. The thing that did annoy me about him was when I watched the Amazon Prime documentary of the Spurs All or Nothing. And I just found him really uninspirational to listen to as a captain when he was like, Lloris was out and he was giving the team talks. And I don't know. I just didn't, when you watch these things back, and I'm not a massive Arteta fan, but you can still feel it within the dressing room of Arsenal. There was that vibe. And then after you've watched the Pep one, the All or Nothing with City, I mean, just that dressing room is just a different, that's a winning dressing room. And I think that sort of does annoy me. I kind of get what you mean about that side of things, but I do think you get, yeah. I think you also
said about the Tottenham documentary. Like he is uninspiring in what he comes across like. I know he's not the captain of Tottenham officially, so he won't give team talks or anything, but still, you'd have an input as a leader, wouldn't you?
He's England captain, though.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just like, how have you got the England captaincy over these so many players who've won leagues in the squad of England? I'm not saying Henderson should be captain because I know where it's coming. I don't know where it's going.
No, I think he should have been. I think Henderson should have been captain.
And then when people, I know obviously in our group, people were saying he's a leader. I'm like, I just laughed at that comment. He's not a leader. What does he do to lead? I know he scores goals, brilliant. I've looked at his England record, by the way. He doesn't score goals against the big teams like many a time. Like he's scored like 33 penalties as well. So it's not as good as people think. Like, but listen, you still have to score them. He didn't score the most important penalty, did he? So
no, it's
great for me. He does my head in a little bit.
Shall we move on from Kane? Because I think Cully's going to set up a group on Facebook about "We Hate Kane" or something like that.
I already have.
what I will say is he did score probably the most important penalty. He scored at the shootout against Italy in the final. But other than that, I do know what you mean in terms of that the France thing. And to be fair, I think it's a good debate. Actually, I think it's genuinely a good debate. So good fun. Let's. How many hits are too many hits, Baz, this week? Because we've just talked about this. Do you think minus 12 is too much? Definitely. -4, not -8. The -8 is the thing. What do you think? Yeah. Too much or not?
Oh, it's a tough one. It's a very tough one. I'm torn to doing a -8, but I'm like, who do I bring in? Where am I going to get them 8 points back? If I bring double game week players in, yes, I'm going to get potentially at least 12 points from them. So it's like, shall I risk it? Shan't I risk it? And I'm like, I'm probably going to do it, to be honest. So yeah, I think -8 is about right for me. Anything more, I think it's just too drastic. And that's coming from me, who's done a -24. So yeah, I haven't done any minuses this year, and I was tempted to say I'm not doing any, but I think I have to because I got trolled by the flag from Almiron. Yeah, I think -8 is the max you'd go to if you was going to do a hits.
Are you doing minus this week, Baz? Sorry, Gal.
Yeah, I'm doing a -8. Yeah,
good.
And a bench and -8 and bench boost.
I think I'm the same. Yeah, I think I'm the same. -8 and bench boost. I think that's where I'm going to end up being. I really want to try to do -4, but I think it's going to be a -8. But it's fat for the bench boost. It's also to set me up moving forward for the running. I think again, I think we've touched on chip strategy in relation to transfers already in terms of that. But just to recap, if you have got a triple captain left, then it looks like that nailed on double game week of Fulham and West Ham for Haaland, or the Villa Brighton potentially for Rashford seems like the best triple captaincy options. You could, if you're not going to bench boost this week and you've got a triple captaincy left, maybe you've already used your bench boost. This week it's interesting. I mean, I've heard a few people talk about triple captaining a Brighton midfielder. I've definitely heard a lot of people talk about triple captaining a Rashford against Newcastle and Brentford. And yeah, I've even heard of triple captain of Maddison against Palace and Villa.
Was that Mr. Scott Williams, maybe?
Oh no, I don't know what he's doing with his life at the moment. He's I think he's bench boosted anyway, Scott. I think, but yeah, it's there's a lot, but triple captaincy. There you go.
And plus, looking at 32, looking at the fixtures for majority of the teams that we have players from, I think Arsenal's the only team that look quite promising. Because Brighton, we've probably got 2 or more players that are blanking. Chelsea, I've got 3, so they're blanking. Man City are blanking, Man U are blanking, but then Spurs have got Newcastle, Tottenham. He's screaming out free hit for the triple Arsenal and find whatever you can from rest.
Yeah, triple Liverpool, home to Forest.
Yeah, exactly.
All day long. I think. Yeah, probably have a West Ham player maybe in there as well. I think Brentford at home against Villa again, potentially options in there. But I agree. And then Fulham at home to Leeds. I mean, if Mitrovic does only get a 3-match ban, he'll be back for then. But if not, there might be other options in there. I like Leicester at home to Wolves for attacking options as well. Yeah, I agree. And that's why I think if you've got a free hit left, almost certainly it's going to be 32. It's the people that have got all the chips left that, for example, someone like a Dimple, for an example, she'll have a debate whether she wants to use the bench boost this week or not, depending on her squad. But then free hit 30, dead end your team into 31, free hit 32, wildcard 33, and then maybe bench boost 34 if you haven't bench boosted in 29. Seems all right. But if she has a triple captain left, and it's bench boost maybe 29, free hit 32, wildcard 33, triple captain 34, then you're using all of the 4 chips within a 6-game week period. I mean, that could eat up the entire deficit in front of her. There's a few different options you've got there, but I think if I had all the chips left, it'd be something along those lines. But the long story short is 29, 32, and 33, 34 are the weeks I'd be looking to use the chips up in. None of the doubles really catch my eye in 37, and the other fixtures for other teams don't make me think I'm going to really quite happily like bench boost. But 37 bench boost could work if my team's knackered for 29. I might bench boost in 34 or 37, to be fair. So that covers off that. Baz, let's do your 11. Let's do it. We've talked about it. We've thought about it the entire time, haven't we? Let's look at it. If it lets me maximise, that'd be lovely. Can I zoom in here? Yeah. 15 mil in the bank. Have you done your bench?
No, didn't do bench. Just did 11.
Absolutely love it. So you talk us through it for podcast listeners.
I've just literally gone all out, double game week, like I did last season when I just had a free hit. I just literally went all out, double game week, and I got praised by Scott Williams. I know this season probably don't mean a lot when you're getting praised by him.
Brutal.
But, yeah, I know he kept disagreeing with me last couple of weeks. So yeah, I'm going for him. Right. So I've gone for Sterling goal. It's looked good since he's come in, and Sanchez has looked really, really mediocre at best. Chilwell, obviously for attacking returns, I think he's looking good. Same with Estupiñán as well. I've gone for obviously Ricardo Pereira, just because I'm adamant a Leicester defender is going to get me some points. I'm sticking by them guns. Rashford, because it's Rashford, he's done really well this season. Matoma's in there as well. He's my vice, and Rashford's my captain. Ben Rama as well. My differentials in this time compared to my last couple of my 11s. They haven't. Maddison, I think I'd been stupid not to put him in, especially if I've got 15.1 million in the bank. And then forwards, I've actually gone for Bamford up front. I think he scored a potential lucky goal, but that might help his confidence. And with the fixtures he's got, I think Leeds might surprise Arsenal because they have looked a bit ropey. They struggled against Bournemouth. Will they struggle against Leeds with obviously the new manager as well, who's playing really well? I think that might be a nice little potential bonus point maybe for Leeds. Havertz has got 3 and 3, and Isaac is playing really well for Newcastle, and that's me talking about my 11.
Ricardo and Bamford make me nervous, but the rest of it I like. I think.
Just gone for two differentials there. You
Do you know what,
you tasked me to have a potential differential team of such, and I think
Yeah.
some of that is differential.
But I think in terms of just if you did a free hit in general, I think if you went for like let's say Ricardo out for I don't know off the top of my head, maybe Shaw or something along those lines or Trippier, and then Bamford out for Watkins. I don't think it's a bad free hit team. It's got a couple of differentials in there. Really like the Ben Rama shout. Maddison, of course, I think classic. I think the rest of it looks great. Cully, how does that compare to your free hit team? Because you knew this is what I was going to ask you now.
So basically, before Cully starts, this is not to go for Cully because, as you know, with my horse tips and stuff like that, don't go for
not
it.
be any of them. I'll take Chilwell out for a start and Maddison. Right, so I've got this is mine at the minute. This is not obviously set in stone. So Areola in net, Estepinian, Chilwell, and Trippier at the back. Matoma as my captain. Fernandes, Rashford, March, and Maddison, and Watkins and Havertz up front, and Isaac on the bench, and with James and Shaw.
It's not that much different, to be fair.
Not that much different, if I'm honest. It's starting to rain, so I'm going to move inside. So give us 2 seconds.
That's fine, mate. Yeah, don't worry. I don't think it's bad at all, to be honest. Who's I'll tell you what, Cully, we're only going to do. We've got probably 5 minutes left here, so we'll do differentials. So, Baz, your differential was Ben Rama this week. Cully, did you have a chance to look at your differential pick for this week? You're under 5% owned.
Probably Areola. Bowen is probably the shouts, isn't it? So
we went for Bowen, and mine this week is my old favourite Harvey Barnes. I think Harvey Barnes is going to be the man. Do you know we're getting on in our differential league, Baz? Any chance?
Yeah. Was that 1 second?
Whilst I get the fixtures up for this, and we just have a quick captaincy debate and wrap up for the game week. So the deadline is at 11 o'clock on Saturday, the 1st of April, with City playing Liverpool on BT Sport for a ball draw 0-0. Then we've got fixtures all the way up until the 5th of April. So we are back-to-back 5 days worth of solid football for an absolute bumper double game week 29. Captaincy chaps, I'm assuming we've got to be looking at double game week players. Generally, I can't think of anybody I'd really want to captain other than a potentially a Brighton midfielder, maybe Maddison a push, or it's probably going to be Rashford for me. Thoughts on?
I've got Matoma. Rashford's my second choice, so probably change it to Maddison. Matoma.
I think it's between Rashford, Maddison, and the Brighton mid. Baz, any advance on that, or any preference of that group of people?
No, I think they're the certs. I think I'll probably go captain Rashford and then vice Maddison.
Yeah, I really like the double game week for Brighton this week. I think my captaincy is on Rashford, but I think that's more because I actually just want Man United to win the games, but Newcastle and Brentford are just tougher than Brentford and Bournemouth. So it's Bournemouth away versus Newcastle away in terms of fixture. Brighton's fixtures probably tend to be better. I think it's probably wiser to look at the Brighton midfielder if I was going to. And then, of course, there's the differential captaincies of someone like Bruno or along those lines. But Baz, update us in your for the differential league. Then. How are we going on?
For the differential to the end of the season one, we've obviously I had Watkins, so I'm absolutely smashing that one. So it's 47 for me. You're on 18, and Scott with the Gordon shout is on 4.
Nice, well done, Scott.
Yeah. The weekly one, you're in the lead, Alex, on 40. Then it's me on 34, and then Scott's on 26.
Nice. You'll have to drop Scotty a text and see what he wants to do for this week. But chaps, we haven't really got time for the Hall of Fame stuff. I think we'll have to wrap up there. I think we're probably an hour and 20. But thank you very much for joining us today. Thank Cully in particular. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule and going into your back garden to join into this podcast. Baz, thanks for joining us forever. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to where you get your podcasts from, and then also follow us on our social media platforms, Audible Pod, Audible P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Good luck for double game week 29, everybody. green arrows all round. And we'll catch up with you next week. Bye for now.